Big time fight in our main event. We have the Demolition Man, Alistair Overeem. This guy had been there and done that with pride. He became the Strikeforce heavyweight champ. He beat Brock Lesnar in his UFC debut, and he's had a heck of a career. You look at the total fight numbers, it's absolutely insane that this guy's still doing it at such a high level and still competing at such a high level. Alistair Overeem out of the Netherlands taking on Russia's Drago Alexander Volkov. And since Volkov's really kind of adopted the nickname and really kind of got his confidence and his footing under him, he's looked amazing. And I know in his last 5 fights, he's 3-2, but he's taken on a high level competition, whether it was with Bellator or M1 Global or here with the UFC. And again, you talk about mixed results, but let's focus on the losses. By knockout to Derek Lewis, where he was beating Derek Lewis until the end of the 3rd round. It was a Hail Mary by Lewis, and he loses. And Curtis Blades, and that's a fight, I know we're going to get into it. I see it a lot, I was going to say quite a bit, but a lot differently than a lot of people do. And I can hear the arguments both ways. But let's focus on the wins. Fabrizio Verdum, in a fight where Verdum was riding the 2nd career wave high.
That was early in the days of Craig betting on MMA, and I remember vividly that one coming back to bite him.
That was a bad one. He beat Greg Hardy in a fight where Hardy had some success, maybe broke his hand, but still, he wins that one. And then he beats Walt Harris his last time out, knocks him out in that one, and looked great.
He did, and that was the thing about Volkov, too. This is the thing I love about this fight, and I have to say this first. Heavyweights should not be in main event fights. I don't like heavyweights fighting 25 minutes. These are 2 of the heavyweights who I love fighting for 25 minutes, though. Like, Alexander Volkov has phenomenal cardio for a heavyweight. And yes, he lost in the Blades fight. He got taken down 1,000 times. But that fight, I do think there's a lot of positives to draw from. And the fact that Volkov was still quite fresh in the 4th and 5th round after defending 15 takedowns, I think is a really important fact, because it does show off just how good his cardio is, even for being a 6'7" heavyweight. And we saw... maybe my new favorite heavyweight, thick boy Alexander Volkov, is here to stay. The man that we saw fight Walt Harris.
Thick boy, tatted up.
He's
a bad boy.
He's having a midlife crisis, but he might be having it in the best way possible. Because from upgrades in the tattoo game, I can't really say just how bad that Manta Ray was compared to the nice piece of artwork he has on his back all of a sudden.
I mean, Ben Affleck's here. Alexander Volkov's way up there.
It's a beautiful piece.
Looks great. Can't talk about it enough.
So for Drago and Volkov, he's got phenomenal cardio, and I'm confident he can go a hard 5 rounds. Well, I mean, Alistair Overeem's been doing it since really the year I was born. Alistair Overeem made his debut in 1999. I was born in November of 1998. Alistair Overeem's been fighting for as many years as I've been doing things on this earth, and that is an absolutely astounding fact to me. But Overeem, even at this advanced age, he is finally 40, which is wild because it feels like he's been 40 for the last 5 years. But he can still go those hard 5 rounds, and we've seen it fight after fight. Overeem, I'll liken him to a Frankie Edgar, where it's, okay, we have a fight night slot that needs filled. Alistair Overeem can fight another guy in the top 10, and it's going to sell enough tickets, and it's going to do enough viewers on TV that we can always justify having him in the main event. This fight's odd, because everything Overeem does well suggests that he should kind of run over Alexander Volkov in this fight. Volkov doesn't defend the takedown particularly well. He's gotten a lot better defensively on the ground. That's something we do have to talk about, because at the start of his UFC career, and really just throughout the earlier part of his MMA career, and I say earlier part, it took him a while to get into the UFC, but it seems like it has taken even his UFC time to adjust to it. His defensive grappling has improved a lot, and in the Verdum fight, yes, he gets taken down, and yes, he does get put in a lot of bad positions, but the fact that he's never really sunken into a submission throughout that fight, he's doing well enough defensively that, yes, Verdum's able to take him down, but he's not taking any major damage, he's not really getting himself into any sticky situations.
He did better than Alexander Gustafsson.
He really did. So defensively for Volkov, Overeem might be able to go out there and take him down. I don't doubt it, and I'm sure it's part of his game plan. But even if it takes him down, I don't think we're going to see the same story that we saw in the Walt Harris or the Augusto Sakai fight, where it's just Overeem with his phenomenal ground and pound and top pressure, just lighting up Volkov on the mat. I think Volkov, his cardio is phenomenal, so it will allow him to just keep on working every time Overeem gets him down to the ground, and he's not going to constantly have to worry about, okay, if I do really expend my energy here, will I be tired later on in the fight? Because Walt Harris hits Overeem with a bomb, gets tired trying to finish him, gets finished on the mat. Augusto Sakai is doing all right throughout the fight, but once his cardio starts to fade, Overeem really takes over. Overeem won't have that big of an advantage in the cardio in this fight. And it's interesting because Overeem, what are his 2 defaults? Well, if the fight's not going well, I can clinch up with my opponent, normally knee them in the body a million times, or I can outlast them with my cardio. He doesn't really have the cardio to outlast Volkov in this fight because no one at heavyweight does. And in the clinch, Overeem might have success, but in the clinch is honestly where I can see Volkov having some of his success. He's got nice uppercuts, he's got good knees. So this fight's really interesting because both guys should have success in similar ranges.
It's a tricky one too, and this is the conversation that I've seen a lot out there, especially YouTube community tab here. Make sure you check it out. We toss out polls, all kinds of neat stuff. A lot of people, going with Overeem and a lot of people going with Volkov. And the ones that are going with Volkov are very vocal in the fact that in the fight that Overeem had against Augusto Sakai's last time out there, it was a fight night main event. You had Overeem finishing Sakai at the beginning stages of the 5th round. Sakai outlanded him in terms of significant strikes and overall total strikes, which I found surprising because in my mind's eye, thinking about it before doing any of the research, man, Alistair Overeem won that fight easy. Beat the heck out of old Augusto Sakai. And he did, and he definitely landed the more meaningful shots, the more powerful shots, which is weird because significant strikes, it's a whole other ballgame. His takedowns were good, and they were kind of unorthodox. They were a little weird. In the 5th round, Sakai was totally depleted. Overeem just kind of dumps him down, gets on top, lands some good shots. Same thing with the Walt Harris fight.
Stefan Struve fight, he does the same thing.
Finishes him. Stefan Struve. And then we look at the last 5. Okay, the loss to Jairzinho. He beat him until the end, and then he got finished, just like Derek Lewis when he beat Alexander Volkov. Before that, Alexei Oleinik, that one wasn't even close. And then the fight against Sergey Pavlovich. We get this guy that's been eating the same stuff that Overeem was eating in 2010. He's going to come in here like, pick a wrestler.
Chris Masterson.
Just Chris Masters going for the master lock. But Chris Masters and Overeem just beat the brakes off of Sergey Pavlovich. He beat him bad and quickly, too.
And how did he do it? Because again, this is the thing about Overeem, especially in this last 5 fights. Where is all of his success coming from? Well, he ground and pounds Sergey Pavlovich. He ground and pounds Jairzinho until he doesn't. Ground and pounds Augusto Sakai. And ground and pounds Walt Harris. I'm sensing a bit of a theme here.
He clips a lot of guys, and if they falter at all, we're bringing them down. We're going to hammer away. And that's the thing. A lot of people for the longest time talked about the submission wins of Alistair Overeem, and he has plenty of them. And they talk about the offensive grappling, but we never really see it. But what we have seen later on in his career, especially after that Stipe fight, UFC 203, is the fact that Alistair Overeem has started to wrestle a little bit more. And I think the key to that is that move to elevation, working with Curtis Blades. You have a perfect little bit of a game plan. And again, here's where I deviate with a lot of people that really liked a lot that Alexander Volkov brought to the table in the Blades fight. Curtis Blades went 14 to 25 in takedown attempts. When was the last time somebody had 14 successful takedowns in a fight? Merab had that not that long ago. Merab and Curtis Blades, it doesn't happen all that often. And later on in that fight, Curtis Blades did tire, and Volkov started to have a little bit of success on the feet. And I remember when I scored that fight, and going back, I had it 4 rounds to 1 for Blades. I get an argument, maybe 3 and 2, whatever. I had it 4 rounds to 1 for Blades, and I thought Blades looked really good in that fight, and I didn't love what I saw to Volkov. Again, the staying power and the cardio, they're there for sure, but I thought Blades ran away with that fight, and Volkov didn't look great. But that's a skill set that a guy like Volkov would struggle against.
No, exactly. And here's the thing. I think you're looking at the right stats, but I don't know if you're looking at them the right way. I agree with everything you said. I can't disagree with it. Volkov didn't take any damage from the ground and pound, though, and I think that's the most important thing about this fight. Can Overeem take down Volkov? I'm sure he can at some point. I just don't think he can damage Volkov on the ground like he's been able to damage a lot of his past opponents, and that's what it comes down to for Overeem. On the feet, could Overeem knock out Volkov? Of course he could. Alistair Overeem is one of the most technical and powerful strikers we've ever seen in the heavyweight division. Really, we've ever seen in MMA. He was the original Israel Adesanya making that transition over to MMA, if you will. Of course, it was more MMA, then kickboxing, then back to MMA. But still, when you look at his level of striking, pretty much second to none. Alexander Volkov has a lot of weird intangibles, though, that are going to give Alistair Overeem issues. Overeem doesn't do a great job fighting guys bigger than him. I think the Stipe fight's a good example, because Stipe, if you can keep him at the end of your range constantly, yes, he was able to drop Stipe, but Stipe, when he does let his hands go and when he's landing those good boxing combinations, he was really giving Overeem issues. And Overeem loves to do this one thing that, listen, sometimes he does it and it works, sometimes he doesn't and it doesn't. I prefer it when he runs. And again, I never thought I'd say that. People hate it because he turns back and runs. When he puts his hands up and his back on the cage, it's very Tyron Woodley-esque. Now, the good thing about Overeem is he's smart enough to where he'll wait in that position, he'll let you throw your 3 or 4 strikes, and then he will get his back off the cage.
A la Augusto Sakai.
Exactly. The issue with that, though, is Those 4 or 5 seconds, Augusto Sakai can hit you, he can get some volume off. Alexander Volkov's really, really good at finding his way around your defense, and he's great at going to the body too, which is something we don't see Overeem deal with all that often. So I'm really curious to see, how does Overeem deal with the body and leg kicks that Alexander Volkov are going to be giving to him?
That's the thing. That's where I was going to go with it. Alexander Volkov, great kicks. Now, they're not the fastest, but this guy's 6'7", and he has an 81-inch reach, and that doesn't take into account, obviously, his leg reach. But this guy is huge, and so to, build momentum and kick quick, it's a little difficult. But for Alexander Volkov, really, really good kicks. And I mean, is it going to be at the same level of like Travis Brown when he fought Alistair Overeem? Maybe not, but maybe so. So let's have a look at the odds. Alistair Overeem open a -125 favorite. He's now plus 152 underdog as an average on best fight odds. For Volkov, open a plus 105. He's now a -185. Again, at best fight odds. If you have a look at the Tapology picks, 1,331, 63% Overeem, 6% of those fans have him to win by knockout. The 37% that have Volkov, 72% have him to win by knockout. So somebody's probably going to win by knockout. That's what the fans are thinking. To me, this is a really tricky one. And again, you want to go inside baseball. I've been juggling this one around in my head all day, and so have you. In terms of confidence, you talk pop and popcorn, and we've had a fair amount of them on this one, but this is one for me. I like Overeem ever so slightly here. Again, I like the fact that if he's in trouble, run away. Maybe don't turtle up, because turtling never works. This isn't a hockey fight. It works sometimes for Overeem. It really does.
I hate to keep on bringing up the name, but unless you are like a Poirier or like a Masvidal who can turtle up and move their head and counter all in the same motion, it's normally not a good idea to just put your hands up by your head.
Overeem does it pretty good, though. You got to give him that. But I don't love it, especially against a guy like Volkov, who could just back up and start kicking him to the body or throw the uppercuts. But again, what do I like out of Overeem? The power shots, the takedowns, and the fact that when he lands ground and pound, you do not want to be either underneath him or the canvas, because you're going to get beat up if you're the canvas, and he misses on a punch. I'm going Overeem ever so slightly. What are you thinking here?
So I'm going to side with Alexander Volkov. And for full transparency, like you had said, I was pretty confident in Alistair Overeem up until today. But the thing I have with Overeem is that he does tend to get hurt in most of his fights. And he has one of two. He does. Oh, yeah. He's the definition of a glass cannon. But he has two reactions when he gets hit. Sometimes he falls down, and sometimes he puts his back against the cage. If he just goes down, that's his best bet in this fight, because Volkov probably won't just follow him to the mat. If he puts his back up against the cage, I hate that position for him so much. And there's sometimes in fights where I feel like I've got a clear view as to what might happen. I can really see Volkov hitting Overeem with a shot as Overeem moves in. Overeem kind of getting wobbled, backing up to the cage, and we see Alexander Volkov with those slow, but also very powerful and long distance uppercuts. Just being able to catch Overeem with his hands up high. I like Volkov. Now, here's the thing, and I think you can agree to this. You picked Overeem, but Overeem can get knocked out in 10 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
I picked Volkov. Volkov can get ankle picked and completely dominated on the ground throughout the whole entirety of this fight. So I'm going to pick Volkov. I'll even say by stoppage, but this really is a coin flip of a fight.
I like Overeem in this one. You've got Volkov. Matt, this was a great card. I had a lot of fun going back through, doing the research, making the videos for this one. If you want to check out, we have question mark kicks on Saturday, 2 hours before the prelims. We go through our final picks. Maybe we weren't overly confident in one here. We'll let you know what we're thinking by the end of the week after the weigh-ins. Dariush has missed weight in his last one. CDF had missed weight, so you got to watch out what's going to happen there. Make sure you check us out, FightNightPicks.com. All kinds of new merch, the new Under Armour Fight Night Picks shirt.
Stuff.
We got hats, we got all kinds of great stuff. I ship them out as quick as possible. You can find us on iTunes and Spotify for the shows that we have here on YouTube, as well as a podcast of the picks. Just look at Fight Night Picks. And Matt, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Fight Night Picks, all kinds of good stuff over there, and some stuff that you might not see on YouTube or in the podcast. So, keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt. And as we always say,
let's get into it.